Afternoon, folks. Brian here, Geomagnetic Earth Watch on Sunday, June 2nd, 2024. So, folks, where are we going to be getting our information from? If you were back in 1983, we got a lot of information on a celestial body X out there. In fact, NASA appointed Robert S. Harrington of the U.S. Naval Observatory to locate and track the celestial body X planet. And it was formally announced several times. On December 30th, 1983, the Washington Post by the writer Thomas O'Toole on the announcement, the existence of the celestial body X, found in the direction of the constellation Orion by the U.S. Infrared Astronomical Telescope satellite. Their calculation was that it could be headed towards Earth. Another announcement through January 30th, 1983, in the New York Times by John Noble Wilford, and again September 10, 1984, in the U.S. News World Report, all acknowledging through the U.S. government, NASA, the existence of planet. Now, so once again, Robert S. Harrington was the supervising astronomer, and he was also interviewed by Zach Sitkin on August 30th, 1990. So you can find lots of information about the formal acknowledgement of the celestial body X. Mr. Harrington also published a paper in 1988 on the subject matter, until President Reagan got involved. However, when they realized the implications of a large celestial body would have, its gravitational and electromagnetic influence on planet Earth and the entire solar system, they realized it shouldn't have gone public. So that's when they came up with they had to come up with a cover story. The cover story, of course, is the man-made global warming narrative. And they appointed Al Gore and John Kerry. They were actors. They're not stupid. They know what they were doing. It's a cover story to explain the violent earth changes, the earthquakes, the ocean rise, sea level rise. So, jump forward to the current time. Who do you go to look for information? There's a few people who have dedicated their lives. Mr. John Moore, the Liberty Man, is one. Mike from around the world. Steve of Skywatch Media News, who was heavily into it, especially in 2016. However, he went silent. And finally, there's a Chilean scientist, astronomer, Carlos Ferrada, who put in 59 years of documented research. Now, there's others on the internet who are dedicated professionals in the field in which they report on, space weather, for example, geology. But they concentrate on the effects of space weather on radio operators and astronaut safety. And those covering all the recent volcanic eruptions, they don't want to go any further than that. They don't want to discuss such things as mantle plumes. And the other ones, they don't want to touch, geomagnetic excursion and celestial bodies X, etc. But you're also going to have to, you're going to see spooks either working for or financed by three-letter agencies to steer the public away from the truth And to deny...
We do not have a binary star. There is nothing incoming into the solar system. Planet X, Nibiru, no, not real.
Guys like that, who are put in place to deny the existence after the formal acknowledgement and all the documentation by professionals. Now, unfortunately, Robert S. Harrington, shortly after his interview, developed sudden onset throat cancer and died. So you have to also, like I said, come up with another cover story to convince the public. You ever notice how he's never censored, ever? And to impose some other reasons for the Earth changes taking place and on the other planets. He also said very recently that hot spots do not exist, and therefore mantle plumes. Hot spots don't exist. Hot spots, Iceland is a hot spot. The Hawaiian Islands is a hot spot. You have the Cobb hot spot off the coast of British Columbia. You have the Baja hot spot. You have the Afar hot spot, Red Sea, Ethiopia, Eritrea region. You have hot spots everywhere. The reason why he said that is because they know of the outer core expansion by the electromagnetic connection to the celestial body X, pulling up the hotter magma and the heat. I shall digress for now. But then you also have others who try and profit by trying to sell you the information, making such statements as something that will affect all of humanity. But you have to buy tickets to my webinar before we tell you. I have experts. You want to know who the experts are? One is a nitwit who didn't know anything of the subject matter until he started doing his own research. He used to hang around with Diamond, little boy toy. Another one, whom I have respect for because of his belief in God and the study of the sun, once stated that he doesn't believe in the celestial body X because he's never seen it, but he believes in God that he's never seen, and he believes in his works. Pay me money. Does that sound familiar? I called him out on that, and he blocked me. What kind of a pastor is that? So, people, you don't look above to see something you can't see yet, because it's a brown dwarf and it doesn't emit enough light. It's too cool temperature-wise, and it doesn't emit enough light until it gets closer. But we see the symptom effects. So, like, this is the opposite of being like a first aid attendant or a doctor. When we go to diagnose a patient, we don't know what's wrong. It just has an unknown illness. So we have to go through the signs and the symptoms and something called the systems review. So we have to evaluate the signs and the symptoms of the patient. But here we have a suggestion of a large celestial body. So we look for the signs and the symptoms, such as the gravitational pull, the earth wobble, the ocean's inundations, that which the United Nations tells us is going to be happening because of their cover story, man-made global warming. We look for the signs of the electromagnetic connection, the outer core expansion, the hotter magma and the heat rising up through the mantle plumes, which are anchored to the outer core of the planet, which when it comes to the underside of the lithosphere creates a mantle plume head, which spreads thousands of kilometers in diameter. The lithosphere in which we walk upon and our oceans sit upon, we look for the signs such as the heating of the oceans, the increase in earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, fires, weather events. We look for all these things. And we have tools so far made available to the public. Just like a doctor has tools, x-rays, CT scans, MRIs, blood work, etc. And if you take those tools away from a doctor, it makes his or her job very, very difficult. Those tools that we have access to very, very soon, and I've been waiting for this for about a year now, will be restricted access. We will no longer have tools to the NASA satellite imagery to look at a whole lot of things, not just heat detections, limited earthquake reporting, access to the National Data Buoy Center. The reason why I watch those is because the buoys are anchored to the ocean floor. If there's any motion in the ocean floor, those buoys are going to go into an event mode, and so on. Space weather monitoring. I've already covered that. Pretty soon, we're not going to have access to that. At that point, that's when I start to worry. Because we will not know ahead of time what may be happening. And that's the point of this video. So much was revealed in 1983. And now, so much to hide. And people put in place to deny the existence of any celestial body or bodies incoming to our system. Someone who actually committed fraud by legal definition by falsely identifying himself as an astrophysicist, geophysicist, scientist, mathematician who is not. And again, you have the people who are far more credible, who have dedicated their life to the subject. Like Carlos Ferrada, 59 years. And of course, the connection to Scripture, Wormwood. So we continue to look for and prepare for the Earth's responses and how they align up with Scripture. The earthquakes and related natural disasters in diverse places, the signs from the heavens above, nations in anguish and perplexity at the roaring and the tossing of the seas, and so on. Cheerio. Ta-ta.